Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to Wellness with Kaylin, the podcast where we explore practical ways to improve your health and quality of life. I'm your host, Kaylin, and today we're diving into a topic that affects millions worldwide: arthritis and the protein foods that might be making your pain worse. If you or someone you love deals with the stiffness, pain, and decreased mobility that comes with arthritis, you know how challenging everyday tasks can become. While medications and physical therapy are important parts of managing arthritis, what you eat plays a huge role too. Today, we're focusing specifically on protein foods that might be triggering inflammation and making your arthritis symptoms worse. The inflammation connection? Before we jump into specific foods, let's understand why this matters. Arthritis is fundamentally an inflammatory condition affecting your joints. What many people don't realize is that certain foods can either calm or trigger inflammation in your body. When you consume inflammation-triggering foods, especially specific proteins, your body may respond with increased pain, stiffness, and swelling in those already sensitive joints. By identifying and avoiding these trigger foods, many of my listeners have found significant relief. Let's break down the 6 main protein culprits you might want to reconsider if you're living with arthritis. Red meat. First on our list is red meat: beef, lamb, and pork. Now, I know many of us grew up considering these staples of a protein-rich diet, but for arthritis sufferers, they present a specific challenge. Red meat contains high levels of arachidonic acid, a fatty acid that can kick your body's inflammatory response into overdrive. I've had many listeners tell me that simply reducing their red meat consumption led to noticeable improvements in their joint pain. If you're not ready to give up red meat entirely, consider switching to leaner cuts and smaller portions as a first step. Think of red meat as an occasional treat rather than a daily protein source. Processed meats. Next up are processed meats. I'm talking about sausages, bacon, hot dogs, and deli meats. These foods are problematic for arthritis sufferers for multiple reasons. They're typically high in saturated fats, which can promote inflammation, and they contain additives like nitrites and nitrates that can further aggravate your immune system. These processed meats essentially send your body's inflammatory response into overdrive, which can directly translate to increased pain in your joints. Instead, reach for anti-inflammatory proteins like chicken, turkey, or fish, particularly fatty fish like salmon that contains omega-3s, which actually help fight inflammation. High-fat dairy. Let's talk about dairy. Full-fat dairy products like whole milk, regular cheese, and butter contain significant amounts of saturated fats. For many with arthritis, these saturated fats can trigger inflammatory responses that worsen joint pain. This doesn't mean you need to eliminate dairy entirely. Calcium is important for bone health, which is especially crucial for arthritis patients. Instead, opt for low-fat or non-fat dairy options that give you the nutritional benefits without the inflammatory components. Plant-based milk alternatives fortified with calcium can also be excellent substitutes if dairy seems to trigger your symptoms. Hey, beautiful people, just a quick reminder that if you're enjoying today's episode on arthritis and diet, make sure you check out Live Well, A Guide to Healthy Living by Larry Allen, available on Amazon. It's an excellent resource that dives deeper into many of the nutrition principles we're discussing today, with practical plans for implementing anti-inflammatory eating in your daily life. Now, back to our protein discussion. Fried foods. Fourth on our list of proteins to avoid are fried foods, fried chicken, fish, and chips, and all those delicious but problematic fried snacks. When proteins are fried at high temperatures in certain oils, they produce compounds called advanced glycation end products, or AGEs. These compounds trigger immune responses and increase inflammation throughout your body. If you're craving that crispy texture, consider using an air fryer or baking your proteins with a light coating of olive oil instead. These cooking methods give you similar satisfaction without the inflammatory aftermath that can aggravate your arthritis. Shellfish. Our fifth protein category to watch out for is shellfish, particularly important if you have gout, which is a specific type of arthritis. Shrimp, crab, and lobster contain high levels of purines, substances that your body converts into uric acid. For people with gout, excessive uric acid forms painful crystal deposits in the joints. If you've experienced the excruciating pain of a gout flare-up, you know it's worth avoiding trigger foods. Not everyone with arthritis needs to avoid shellfish, but if you have gout or high uric acid levels, this is definitely a protein source to limit or eliminate from your diet. Certain beans and legumes. Finally, let's talk about certain beans and legumes. Now, this one surprises many of my listeners because we typically think of plant proteins as healthy options, and generally they are. However, some varieties like lentils, chickpeas, and soybeans are high in purines, similar to shellfish. If you have gout-related arthritis, you might need to moderate your consumption of these specific legumes. The good news is that other beans like black beans and kidney beans are usually safer options and can provide protein without triggering inflammation. Conclusion: managing arthritis effectively requires a comprehensive approach, and your diet is a powerful tool in your arsenal. By being mindful about which proteins you consume, you can potentially reduce inflammation and experience significant pain relief. Remember, everyone's body responds differently, so pay attention to how specific foods affect your symptoms. Consider keeping a food journal to track which proteins seem to trigger your arthritis flare-ups. Before making any significant dietary changes, please consult with your healthcare provider or a registered dietitian, especially if you have other medical conditions or dietary restrictions. They can help you create a personalized plan that ensures you're still getting adequate nutrition while avoiding your specific trigger foods. I highly recommend checking out Live Well, A Guide to Healthy Living by Larry Allen, available on Amazon. The book offers fantastic insights into anti-inflammatory diets and has helped many of my listeners create sustainable eating plans that support their joint health.